Meeting. We are eager to hear all of what the efforts that you're taking and the work, the good and important work that you're doing. I want to just share my screen again. And this time we are going to go to our agenda. Here. I'll also ask that Lizzie or Anthony put in the chat box the link for checking in for today, to put your attendance in there. So welcome, we're really glad you're here. Again, my name is Julie Rogers Bascom, and I'm with the National Youth Leadership Council. And we have been working with you in this really important project to talk about some of the how to change behaviors and keep people safe in our country. Just to talk a little bit about our agenda, what we're going to do today, we're going to have a fun little opening activity. We're going to talk a little bit about what we did last month, because that's important to bring to the forefront of what we had been learning and what we were talking about. This month, when you think back to our IPARD cycle, investigation, planning and preparing, action, reflection, demonstration, this month's theme is that second step, which is planning and preparing. You've done your investigation, so we're going to take it to the next step where you do some more planning and preparing. We'll be breaking into some small groups. Actually, the young people will be breaking into small groups and the adults will be staying in one room. And if I'm thinking about, there might be some classrooms that are all young people. Why don't you go into the group with young people so you all can start building some connections with other people around the country. We'll talk a little bit about next steps, and we'll do some kind of a closing reflection. Reflection is really key, even though it's the I in the 5-letter IPARD cycle. Reflection is something we do before, during, and after. So we will be focusing on doing some reflection actually right now. So I'm going to ask my colleague, Carmen, to introduce herself again and then lead us in an opening activity.
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. Sorry about the weird lighting. This is my dorm room. We don't have overhead light. Insane. But I'm Carmen. I'm a first year in college. I'm from Brooklyn and very excited to be here. Excited to get to know you guys. So we're just going to start this session off. It should be a good one, but we're going to start it off with a reflection about what you've learned so far. And so we're going to do this through a free write. Free write could also be sort of a doodle, diagram, drawing, or write in sentences, write in bullet points, whatever helps you. I just want you to try to figure out something new that you've learned about your community. This can be something that you feel like you already knew, but was confirmed, something that's completely revolutionized how you think about other people in your community or how your community functions. But you'll have maybe 3 or 4 minutes, maybe 2, Julie will confirm the amount of time you'll have, just to write down sort of what you've learned. And it can be one thing or it can be many, and it can take any form you want, but make sure you're just sitting there peacefully, I'll stop talking, and you write or draw something you've learned that's really new and exciting to you.
So thank you, Carmen. We'll have 2 minutes. I'm going to play a little background music while we're doing this. And when the music stops, you know that's time to stop. So we're going to have a couple of minutes. Let me find a good tune here. It's not letting me do it.
Okay, been 2 minutes, roughly. So just gonna come back in whatever state of reflection you're in. Does anyone want to share something they learned or the form that their reflection took? Ooh. You can just unmute yourselves. You can share in the chat.
I think someone is typing. I see somebody from Miss Jones' room, Miss Caitlin's room.
Yeah, go for it. You guys can just unmute and talk.
Go ahead, Amy. Hi, one of my students would like to share what he wrote about how important the vaccine and how people don't want to take it. Sure, about how a lot of people don't feel comfortable with the vaccine.
Oh, okay. You learned that some people don't feel comfortable with the vaccine. That's important information for you to know when you move to the next stage of creating your product. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Other thoughts? We have a quiet group this afternoon, right? So we are going to move on to our next phase. I am going to ask our colleague Lizzie to hop in right now and to tell us a little, to take it over. Thank you so much, Carmen.
Thank you, Julie. Hi, everyone. So good to see everyone again. I hope you've all had a great Monday, great start to your month. And as we know, things are moving pretty quick with us already being in our March month. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and jump right into our content for today. So as mentioned, we are currently in the month of March. A little bit of a recap towards last month. February, we had a few things that we worked on, and I want to say thank you to all the teams for your hard work, for pushing to do what you guys did during that time, and for submitting all the forms you submitted. As we remember, some of the things we talked about during our February month were effective messaging, creating an action plan, as well as COVID-19 information. And we had all of you work on specifically submitting products for approval. Some of these tasks were done through our community inquiry process form that by now all of you have completed. And you also worked on and completed your first product information form, which is what we had due this past of this month. So thanks, Dan. And let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. All right, and as mentioned, you guys, we did have all of you submit your CIP forms or your community inquiry process forms. We're gonna do just a brief overview, but just to let you all know, we're gonna send out additional forms for you guys to see what other teams worked on and what other teams did. Some of the major CIP findings or trends that were collected from various SIP forms were as shown on the screen. One of the top ones, as you can see, was that there is a general fear of the vaccine, or in this case, there are specific fears around the vaccine causing, in this case, causing death, leading to infertility, side effects, or that causes the virus in someone. Another one of the major trends or findings that we collected from reading your community inquiry process forms was that there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation, particularly in places like social media. but also amongst person to person, whether that be family members or those in your community. And we do have a few more examples, as you can see on the screen, but for the purpose of just sharing a brief overview, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next slide. Some of the preliminary messaging or product message ideas, in this case, based on the CIP that we collected, were that the top areas were going to be focused on vaccine myths or myth busting. A lot of what this is, again, is based off of what we saw from what you guys collected from your teams. There was also logistical support such as vaccination clinic listings, resource listings, and additional areas such as influence by family or peers. A way that you guys are going to target these areas or work on, in this case, making this CIP or your findings successful with your message product is going to be done through social media such as TikTok, Instagram Reels, Facebook. Other teams will be making videos with video content such as short YouTube videos that have humor or any funny based videos. One other example, as you can see on our slides here, there are many of you that are also going to be working on printed products or resources such as flyers, and we're excited to see these brochures, what these posters will all look like in the end. And as mentioned, this was just a brief overview of a little bit of the findings that we collected from all of the teams that did submit their community inquiry process form. Be on the lookout for additional information. We will send you one other document with all the findings collected, as well as what strategies and areas other teams are working on that might be similar to yours. And with that, we can go ahead and move on to the next slide. Julie, I think you're muted.
I'm trying to do the right thing, mute myself when I'm not talking. Now we're going to try something that we had hoped to get to last time. And what we're going to do is we are going to ask the young people to choose a breakout room to go to. I am going to create some, as soon as I go off of this sharing screen, I'm going to create some breakout rooms. I'm going to ask the young people to choose a breakout room to go into. And young people, these are the two questions I want you to discuss. So make sure you take a picture of these questions, or we will try to broadcast that as well. But we want you to talk about, what are your plans for your messaging products? Are you going to do a TikTok or a video or a poster? And so what are your strategies, but also what's your message? What are you going to tell people that you want them to do in this? It's not just awareness. You're really creating a call to action. So and then the adults are going to stay in this main room, and we are going to talk about those same two questions. What are your plans for your messaging products? And if you already created one, what are your plans with distributing it? Who needs to get it? How are you going to get it to them? What are your thoughts on next steps? So I'm going to pause for a minute, and I'm going to ask you if you have any questions. Are my instructions, are they right up? Give me a thumbs up if you feel good to go. Okay, all right. And thank you for those of you who have your video on. I sure appreciate it, because it allows me to see faces. And, quite frankly, we go through, some of us who are doing a lot of Zoom, we go through all day without seeing a real face. So it's really, I appreciate you doing that. No pressure, but thank you for doing that. Okay, again, young people, everybody is going to see a sign that says, please accept, choose your breakout room. Adults, don't do anything, and young people, choose a breakout room to go into. All right, here we go. All right, I see somebody left. That's good. Then I know somebody is good. It's always this is a new strategy where we leave all the adults in one room and ask the young people to go and be with other young people. Part of our goal is really to help young people talk with each other and get their ideas and form some relationships and practice talking to people that they don't know. So I'm hoping that everyone that is in the room right now are all adults. Yes. All right, terrific. So, so the two questions: what are your plans for your messaging products, your strategies, or your messages? Would anybody please unmute and share that?
I'll be happy to share. I'm with Latinos Unidos in SALUD from the Buckley School.
Oh,
and yeah, and the students have done such a wonderful job kind of leading the charge on this. They're developing some posters. They developed 3 posters, and they realized that they wanted to add a 4th. And the 4th one was really kind of out of a discussion that we all had together. And we were talking about vaccine hesitancy and the fears kind of surrounding, individuals, wanting to get vaccinated. And they identified that, maybe there's this fear for specifically undocumented community members, where they might fear that they can't access a vaccine because they might require an ID, or they need to be a US citizen, or have health insurance. So one of the posters really kind of clarifies a lot of those fears and concerns, which I thought was, really kind of necessary. And the other posters are just beautiful. They've used a lot of kind of approaches in terms of recognizing that folks in the Latinx community maybe more inclined to use like a holistic approach to treating common ailments, or and so just kind of really educating the public about bridging the gap where, yes, your immune system can really help you with these kind of day-to-day kind of situations. But in this particular case, it's really important to recognize that your immune system might need a little help right now. You might need a little support. So I love that approach as well. And then they have another poster that highlights, basically the fact that, families may have some vaccine hesitancy for their children. And so protecting their child is essentially protecting the whole family and their friends at school and kind of like the broader community. And that it'll really kind of boost your immune system, essentially. And so I think they've done a really great job in kind of touching on a lot of the points that might prevent someone from getting vaccinated.
You said a really interesting point, Sabine. You talked about the young people have really led the charge.
Yeah.
How was that as a supportive? How was that for you and the other people around you?
Oh, yeah, it wasn't easy for me to be able to kind of step aside. It's a little like tightrope walking, but then it took a lot of faith and knowing that this opportunity will really help them develop these skills, these leadership skills that will serve them way beyond their high school experience, skills that I wish I had acquired when I was in high school. So, and knowing that, it really reminded me to kind of like step aside and know that they have everything they need and that I'm there if they need my support. But I have to be honest with you, it's been mostly just meetings every Tuesday, and they're really great about meeting the deadlines and creating the posters. I mean, I just saw the posters for the first time on Monday, and I thought they did a great job.
What a great story. Thank you for sharing that, Sabine.
Of
Thank
course,
you.
of course.
I'd love to hear from another voice, another adult who is supporting their young people in this project.
I'll share. Fortunately, I'm driving, so I can't really show my face right now, but this has been quite an experience because I initially had two seniors who were supposed to be my student leaders, but they have really gotten involved in other things and they ended up dropping out. So I have a new student leader who really doesn't consider himself a leader yet. So I'm working with him to show him that you do have leadership skills. You have the potential to do this. And he's come up with some great ideas. So we just really started talking about, first we viewed the products that you all sent us, some of the video clips, and he was just kind of like, yeah, I want it to be more specific. I want it to be more like real. And so I was like, oh, okay. So what do you have in mind? So we created the content for the video. We haven't done the video yet, but we're going to do a video, and we're going to partner with the nursing program at Purdue so that they can have sort of an interview with a graphic in the background that details some of the myths and perceptions about COVID and how we can really bust those myths open. So, and we took the content straight from the CDC, so it's really just some of the experiences that he had with his parents and with some of his friends about them being hesitant to take the vaccine, and pose those questions to like a nurse practitioner, and really came back with the content from the CDC to illustrate why they shouldn't be afraid.
You know, I love hearing that young people, they don't consider themselves a leader. If you haven't, Lee, there is an activity called the Leadership Compass in the information. I don't know if any of you have found that, but it is a great activity to show how everybody is a leader. We all have different working styles or leadership styles. It's a fabulous activity for young people to identify what resonates with them, how they work with each other. And if you ever want to have a side conversation about how to implement that, I would love to do it. It's just the best tool. It's not only good for working with young people, I do it with people who I've worked with. So it's really, it's a fabulous tool. Thank you so much, Lee. Thank you. I think we have time to hear from one more. The young people aren't coming back in, so they must be talking. That's good. Any other thoughts? Anthony, you have your hand up. Is that by design?
Yeah, just wanted to bring something up. I have Jubilee in one of the breakout rooms. They have to leave soon, but they were wondering if we could announce who's coming to the conference sooner. Yeah, because their students have to leave soon.
Okay. Pam, I'm going to ask you what you think about that.
That's fine. We can just do it quick and then come back to it at our normal point in the agenda. And I just don't have that pulled up, so
I can find it on the. I'll find it on the.
Okay.
I'll jump to that.
Okay, and if you want me to do that, I can, and then we'll come back to it in the regular spot.
Okay.
For Anthony. Okay.
All right. Sounds good. I'll go for them now to come back. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Other thoughts? Yeah, it's 6 o'clock our time, so other people are joining us right now. So
I could share really quickly just to some of the ideas. Let me turn on my camera real quick. Hello, everybody. I'm Baruch with Together for Brothers, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Our youth organizers and youth leaders have been kind of playing around with a couple of ideas. They've been making some zines. They've also been, and I don't know if y'all know what zines are. I wish I had an example, but they're like little tiny booklets, right? Homemade magazines with information. So they've been sharing their kind of their own stories and personal journey throughout, you know, COVID, and sharing some of their healthy practices that way. But we've also been doing some photo stories. And so, yeah, so we're leaning in one or the other. And then we've also been, how we plan on sharing. We have really strong connections with our Department of Health here in New Mexico, and also the Health Science Center of UNM, the University of New Mexico. So we're hoping to really include them in that process of kind of sharing that information now, as well as some media stuff. I know I kind of shared all that really quickly, but that's some of the ideas that our youth are coming up with at the moment.
That's terrific. That is just so exciting to hear how everybody takes an idea and they go off in different directions. I have closed the rooms for the young people, so they will be joining us momentarily. If anybody else wants to share a comment about what your plans are for your messaging products or what your strategies, your messages, if anybody would like to do that until we all come back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, I think are we all back? Nope. We are. I think we are all back together. Pam, did you want to share out that slide? I think I will make sure that.
Sure. This is just a quick announcement, and we'll be coming back to this later on in our agenda. But we have some folks who aren't able to stay on the call for the rest of the time. So thank you for those of you who read my email. We were looking to see who is interested in further participation in the National Service Learning Conference. And I mentioned last time that all of our teams, all of you have the opportunity to participate virtually in our virtual day on April 27th, but we collected who was interested in able to come to the conference in person. And we were able to expand. We thought we could do 2 teams, but because of some good airline prices and other things, we're able to do a couple more. So I want to say, I'm sorry if your team was interested and you don't hear your name. It doesn't mean that you didn't have a good, a good case statement or a good, project, but we had to narrow it down. So I am not seeing the screen here. If you do a share screen, Julie, so I don't know if these are in order, but we have coming to the conference to represent in person is the Jubilee Center team from Dallas. I'm doing these from memory until I can get the slide up. I'm looking at you guys jumping around, so good to see you. We'll look forward to see you in Minneapolis. We have the Campfire Patuxent team from Maryland. I don't know if any of those folks are on right now. We have the Torch group from Northfield. I think I saw Carissa on here. I'm not sure if we have folks from there. And the Concord Northwest team from Seattle. And I'm seeing someone, I'm not sure who's on the call tonight. So those will be the groups that are coming to Minneapolis to talk about their own work, but all of your work to represent the project in general. And then we'll look forward to seeing everybody else in the virtual showcases.
So this is the time when, if you all have any questions or further comments, I'm curious, how did it go with the young people? Did it work? Did the young people join the room? The breakout room?
Just highlight. Yes, I will highlight. We did have a really good conversation in the breakout room. I joined. I learned a lot about one of the teams, and I'm excited to see what their posters are going to look like. And it looks like their message product will be a poster for their community. So that's exciting. I don't know if Anthony or Carmen joined any of the other youth teams, but if you did, if you guys want to share anything, feel free. I just want to say I heard great stuff and I'm excited to see what they create.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of speaking with Jubilee, Concord, and Minerva. Jubilee will be doing flyers and handing it out in the community. Concord, I believe, is doing a video and then a TikTok as well. And Minerva will be doing also a video and sharing that through social media. So it sounds like everyone has their ideas and they all sound really cool.
Very
cool. Hensley can jump in if you want to. We had a great conversation. They're going to be doing TikTok, and I learned a lot about the community, who they are. I'm very excited.
Very cool. Any other rooms want to report out? Thank you so much. I think it's important for us to hear from other people because we really do get good ideas and share thoughts and suggestions. So I wanted to just bring us back to a real quick overview of the service learning cycle. I talked about it a little bit today. I've also talked about it the last 2 sessions. But again, this is how we are framing this youth-led experience. We are using service learning as the process for young people to engage with while they're addressing the issues around COVID-19. So you all have already done that investigation. That's the first stage. You are in the midst of planning and preparation. So you're getting ready. You may have already gone into that action phase. Again, reflection, we've been doing a lot of reflection today already. And I encourage you to continue to ask your youth and youth ask your adults, ask good questions. What are you learning? How is this making an impact? How are you changing? How are you being transformed? And then at the very end, we'll be having some demonstrations. So again, this is our service learning cycle. So relating that to the PODER and SALUD process, you have already, oh, I think that you are here. Sign didn't show up here. Sorry, Pam. But you've all done this community inquiry process, the SIP. You've all been designing your messaging and you all are working on that product information form, which is really the important step that you're working on. Once you submit that goes over to us and to the CDC. If there are changes, we go around in that cycle. If there are no changes, you go forward and you pilot your message product. So we'll be giving you more information about what does that mean? What does piloting a project mean? It's a pretty simple step, but really important because once it's sort of like that engineering mindset, you come up with a product, you don't want to release it to everybody. You want to test it a little bit. You want to make sure that that message is working. And then that you summarize after you do the pilot message, you summarize and submit feedback. And then if there's any changes, you make those, and then you figure out how you're going to launch it, how you're going to take the next step. Questions or comments? Always got to check my chat box. And Lizzie is reminding us to please sign in on the attendance form. The link is in the chat box. Thank you, Lizzie. So we will move ahead and we're going to have, I'm going to throw it back over to Lizzie to talk a little bit more about the product information form, the PIF.
All right. Well, thank you, Julie. And before I do jump into our slide here, I just want to remind all of you, as you know, we were listening to the conversations in the youth rooms as well as in the adult rooms, we do encourage for all teams to create up to 2 message products, whether you're making posters, flyers. Just a reminder, if you are working on a series, so in this case, if you're making a comic book or something that has a similar objective, the message product can all be combined into one form. And again, if it's one flyer, it's one PIF form. If it's one comic book, it's also one PIF form. But if they are 2 different objectives, they have to be made separately. So it's one PIF per message product. So I just wanted to remind you guys of that. Now I'll be going in and jumping into just a few more details or a little bit more information on the PIF. As you can see on the screen here, we do have a great example that we wanted to share with you guys from one of our teams in Maryland. Specifically, our team is working with our Campfire Patuxent cohort, and we wanted to share what it completed and also just highlight what a good PIF form looks like. You know, all of you have submitted what you've turned in. This is just one example of the many PIF forms we received, but I also did want to share it with you guys to make it easier to have a visual. I know sometimes it can be hard when filling out forms, you know, having a visual aid in front of you can also make it a little bit easier to somewhat understand what you guys are completing. And I know even for some of you, for example, Together for Brothers, some of the teams right now that I've been talking one-on-one with, you guys did ask for that extension. So as you continue working on it, you guys can use this as a guide. So this example that we have on our slide is again from one of our teams at Campfire Patuxent. We will be providing this information and these slides in a electronic copy or a digital copy. I know Carmen mentioned it might look a little small on the screen there. So we'll have it available for you guys to view in larger text. But I'm just gonna quickly highlight what the PIF form is that we have on the screen. So as you can see, it is highlighted in green, and we have a team working on a message product called Kareen's Vaccine. And as you all know, this PIF form, your first product information form, is considered your first submission. As Julie mentioned, all submissions have to go through a process, through an approval process. So always make sure to make this the first submission when filling that out. When you are choosing the community or the intended audience, make sure to choose something that is a little bit more specific. For example, in this PIF form, we had the teams select Latino families in Bentleyville, Maryland, or in this case, Prince George's County. A little bit more of their objective. So something they mentioned was they want to capture common misconceptions that students have heard from members of their own community and replace them with accurate and factual discourse about the vaccine in both English and Spanish. When this team filled out their description and their script, they did a great job at mentioning, even if it was in 2 sentences, what the description is. So they said, we will create a flyer in the style of a comic book page. The comic book will have 4 sections and will showcase 2 people. One has been vaccinated and one hasn't. The person who has been vaccinated will share their reasons and facts about the vaccine to try to convince their friend, who will then, in this case, this comic book will be printed in both English and Spanish. So again, this is just an example I did want to highlight. For all of you that are still working on those PIF forms, please make sure to fill them out as best you can. Something I do always mention to teams that have had questions, I say, you know, be as detailed as possible, because this will make the approval process a little bit quicker on our end after the CDC does receive the first submission. So we can go ahead and jump on to the next slide, Julie. All right, thank you. So now we're just going to go into a little bit more information as you continue developing your message products and as you continue working on your PODER and SALUD projects. One thing we do want to touch base on is that there is going to be effective messaging, and we have already talked about this previously in our other trainings, but just to do a quick recap of what effective messaging is. As you can see, effective messaging will include white space, call to action, keeping it simple, encouraging interaction, customize information, and representing your audience. When we speak about white space, what this means is when you guys are making your message products, really think about what you have on your flyers, on your posters. Think about what you can use and how you can use it strategically to share your message product in a successful way. With your call to action, think about, you know, what do you want to get done and what do you want to accomplish in your messaging with your message product. And again, we want to keep it simple. You know, there's a lot of information you can include or incorporate into your flyers, your posters, or your comic books. But if you have any questions when filling it out, feel free to reach out to Pam or myself to help you narrow down any ideas, or if you're stuck on anything, we're more than happy to help you out with that. Another thing is we do want to encourage interaction as you are developing these message products. In this case, your names and the adult, but also, you know, feel free to reach out to us if you want to get in touch with some other teams that might even be in your own state. And one other thing we want to add is keep, in this case, the information customized and make sure you are representing your audience. We are targeting the Latinx community specifically, and in this case, so if you are working with the Latino community, for example, in Maryland, make sure you're keeping that in your head, in the back of your head as you're developing these message products. All right, we can go on to the next slide. I'm gonna shut off my video for just a moment here, as it sounds like my Wi-Fi is cutting off just a little bit. But as we continue, so the message product development guidelines include the following. So please take note of these items that we will mention that will be very important to include in your message products. Again, we will have a handout for you guys after where we will provide these slides. All products must include a call to action, as well as the PODER and SALUD website, which, as you can see on the screen, is poderensalud.org. This also may be a bit confusing when the PODER and SALUD website. It's specifically the PODER and SALUD website through Proceed versus the NYLC website, but you will have access to this information after this training. Make sure to keep your group identification and stick to your target audience. One other thing that you will have to include as you continue developing your PODER and SALUD message products is going to be our NYLC logo along with the PODER and SALUD logo. And you guys will have access to these. But as you can see, even on our slides, on the upper right-hand corner, we have been using a logo throughout the whole PODER and SALUD project. And this, the one on the screen here, this is one you'll incorporate into your posters or flyers as well. One other very important thing that we do ask all teams to include, and this is a requirement from the CDC specifically, they will ask for us to have the CDC funding acknowledgement statement, which we will show in the next slide in just a moment, but it must be in both English and Spanish. So I will come back to this in just a second. One other thing we want to let everyone know, for printing items, we are going to have some project colors that we want to keep, in this case, as a cohesive plan for everyone to use. So we do have a branding guide that we've been provided from Proceed that we can provide for you guys, as well as fonts and additional helpful tools that we can give you guys if you're still working on your message products and you're not really sure how to put together a font that matches with your color. Again, we will have a branding guide available, and this will be very important for you to use. And the last thing, ask us if you have any questions as you continue working on these message products. We're here to help. And then just with the next slide, I did want to come back to that and mention all message products that we do have you guys create will have to incorporate a CDC acknowledgement statement, whether that's in Spanish or in English. We will be creating one that you guys can use for a template. So for example, if you are making a TikTok, we will have this CDC acknowledgement statement be showed or previewed at the end of your TikTok. And again, these are specific guidelines that we are asked by our lead project agency Proceed, as well as the CDC. So all of the things you are making, all of the flyers, whether that's a comic book, we will have to incorporate this in there somewhere, as long as we are just mentioning it. And again, it can be in either Spanish or English. All right, so we can go ahead and jump on to the next slide. And as you guys have been working on your product information forms and you know what your ideas might be and what message products you want to create, after the approval process is completed, what's next to follow is going to be our piloting process. Right now, we are just going to briefly mention it because we know many of you are still going to be working on message products throughout this month of March, but we will also dive deep into this during our next training in April. The piloting process in this case is going to ask for teams to reach out to or ask 3 to 9 people from your target audience to review your products and complete an input form. So these input forms are not submitted, but this is where you will distribute your flyers, or this is where you will go in and share your flyers with the community you're targeting and get some feedback from them. Then all you'll have to do is summarize this information and how you will use it in the pilot summary form. And one last thing, the summary form, it can be submitted, but alongside that, it can also be updated and you can make changes to it. So again, this is just to touch on what we'll be doing in April, but I just want to let you guys all know, once the approval process is completed, we are going to then move on to the piloting process that will come up in our next training. So just as an overview, that is all I had for you today, and we'll go ahead and jump on to the next slide.
Oops, before we go there, I think what I want to do right now, I'm going to ask Carmen to lead us in just a little movement moment. I think it's important. Sometimes you've been listening, you've been thinking, let's get some movement going. Carmen, would you like to lead us in our motion moment?
Yes. So it's going to be pretty simple. You are just going to stand up. You can turn off your camera if it makes you feel more comfortable, but just stand up and stretch a little bit. It can be your arms, which I just realized needed to do that. It can be your legs. Just go for a little walk, like touch all your walls, look out the window, see what's up, see what's happening. I see sunlight over at Brooke's place. That's crazy. Sunset hours ago over here. Yeah, just take a minute, walk around, stretch. Try to process everything that was just said. So much, so exciting. Okay, another 10-ish seconds. I have this thing with my ankle where every time I move it in a certain place, it cracks. I'm gonna try to fix that. That's gonna be one of my goals for this month. Okay, I'm trusting you guys all got it. I can't see it, but I'm assuming it happened. And now we're back.
Sometimes just taking a moment. Thank you, Carmen. Sometimes just taking a moment and standing up. I think I've mentioned this to you before. You're 7% smarter when you stand up. So it's an important time to just move around, get your air, get some oxygen into your brain, because there's some real heady stuff. There's a lot of stuff that you have to think about. So what's next? What are we doing next? So I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about the National Service Learning Conference. I'm actually going to have my colleague Anthony tell you a little bit more. The National Service Learning Conference has been around for over 30 years, and we're excited to have PODER and SALUD be a part of our conference. Anthony, I'm going to throw it over to you.
All right. So if you want to head over to the next slide. Yeah.
There we go.
All right. So we have the 4 teams that will be coming to Minneapolis to do a showcase. There we'll have a table for you and you'll be able to showcase. I'll work with you on how you want to present that showcase. We'll go over that further. But for everyone else, we'll be doing the virtual showcase. This will be done as a video. If you want to head over to the next slide. So you'll have a virtual booth. If you look to the right, you'll see kind of an example of the Alexandria city government. You'll have a pretty identical layout. You'll have your video in the center, a chat box on the right, where you can interact live with the people that do visit your booth. Your video should be 1 to 3 minutes long with a max file size of 50 megabytes. There are multiple ways to render your video. So if you have any issues, you can always contact me and I'll help you out with that. But the main core of your video should be the focus of your experience as students through the service learning process. We want you to talk about your project, share the passion, and we'll follow kind of the IPARD formula, which would be investigation, how did you figure out it was a need, planning and preparation, how did you decide to put your plan in motion, the action aspect. Oh, thank you for making that bigger. And then reflection, how you feel towards your project, and as a team, how do you guys relate to it? So I'll send out instructions as well that will have a little more in-depth, and let's see what Julie's doing here. Right.
There we go.
And then so you'll want to have that done by April 10th. It looks like a great time to start making your videos after you turned in your PIF form. And yeah, we'll have a live virtual session from 1 to 2:15 on April 27th. I believe that's when you'll have like a live session on your virtual booth. Is that correct?
I'm just going to turn my camera on for a second. The live virtual session is new, and I think we'll go into that by email, but I don't know if there's anyone on this call who attended the virtual conference last year other than our staff. But in addition to the video, we tried having a time when people could log into a Zoom room and talk with the youth who did the virtual booths. And it was productive, but it was a little chaotic because we had people popping in and out breakout rooms. So what we're going to do this year is still have a live time for those that are available, but we're going to do it in a much more organized fashion. So we will ask ahead of time who's available during that time frame. I know it's during the school day for most folks, 1 to 2:15 Central Time. And so we'll ask if you're available and if you want to participate. So we will do some panels in a Zoom room, but we won't have people popping in and out. So it'll be much more organized if you had that experience last year. So the virtual booth is asynchronous. I'm able to throw these terms around now because, 2 years ago, maybe we didn't all know what was synchronous, asynchronous, but I know you're experts now. So everybody can do that virtual booth and interact on their own time and on your own time. It does have a chat feature if you are not able to do the live session. I don't know if you can see in our little photo there on the right-hand side, there's a little glimpse of what our virtual conference platform looks like, but there is an asynchronous chat. So there's a way to interact with conference participants, whether you can do that time or not. And then I'll just make a mention about the due date, and we'll get more information out to you, but it says final due date. And the reason it says that, I know we've pushed you guys with some tight deadlines, but the deadline for everyone else who's not in PODER is April 1st. So I put final due on there because we really, really do have to have it by that date. The platform will already be live April 1st. So they'll see some empty booths, and the conference starts on April 19th. So we want to make sure that your booth has the most visibility that it can have.
So this is the videos are going to be available for all of the people who participate in the whole conference. So there'll be a lot of people who will be able to learn about the efforts that everybody took, right, Pam?
Right. And then I missed it if you said this, Anthony, but I think last time we mentioned this and there was a question, maybe it was in a coaching session about this video. This is not sharing your message product. If you're doing a video, this is you guys, your team talking about the process. Now, if you want, and you have completed, been approved and done your pilot by that time, and you are ready to share something publicly, then, you sure could do that as well. But this is to give people an idea of what you're doing for your service and how it came about.
So another way for young people to realize and understand and to promote that they are participating in a national conference, which is a pretty cool thing to be doing. Anthony, any other thoughts and ideas that you would like to share with everyone?
Yeah, just like Pam said, I think everyone is still in the early stages of their process. So if you aren't able to talk about the whole project in its entirety, talk about the steps that you're working on and are doing at the moment. And I think just if you showcase that, everyone will see your passion for your project and the commitment you have towards it.
And I think someone put your email in the chat. Anybody needs some support? Anthony is your go-to guy for the showcase. Great. Any questions or thoughts on this? Unmute yourself or put them in the chat. Any questions about this?
I just wanted to clarify one quick question. Julie, I apologize. My camera is off. It looks like my Wi-Fi was having a little bit of connection issues, but Lee did ask if in the chat, if we will need consent forms for those that are a part of the video. We will, for those youth that have already completed the media release forms that are working with your teams, which most of you have already submitted that, as well as the adult leaders, you are good to go. But if anyone else will be joining, we will need those consent forms from those additional team members that you want to include in showcasing or displaying your work. So I hope that makes sense. And I know Pam did mention a little bit more with some clarification, but I just wanted to touch on that. And if you have any questions, anyone else, feel free to ask in the chat.
Okay. All right, I think we're going to go ahead to our next. This one got out of order here, guys. Sorry. Next steps. So I think we're back to you, Lizzie, on talking a little bit about these dates and possible opportunities for getting more resources.
Awesome. Thank you, Julie. So as you guys can see on our screen, we do have additional support outside of the trainings with our team homepage. For all of you that have already joined the homepage, that have signed up, that have looked on there, thank you for doing so. If you haven't yet already, go ahead and do that as soon as you can, because we are posting all of the training recordings on our team homepage, as well as uploading documents and forms that everyone is required to have, and any additional resources. So just to touch base on additional resources, we will be providing some additional information with COVID-19 resources. Right now, we are still in the process of finalizing a form or document to provide for you guys. As you might all know, the information is changing every day, but please be on the lookout for that. 2 quick reminders for our coaching session dates. We will be having 2 coaching session dates taking place on Thursday, March 10th at 5:30 p.m., as well as Thursday, March 24th at 3:30 p.m., both in Central Time. If you have any questions, feel free to join these coaching sessions. All of the links that we provide for coaching sessions or trainings are the same one. So we have the same Zoom link we're using now, but if you have anyone in your team that wants to even jump on for 5 minutes and ask for any support or help, please do so. And if you have any individual questions, reach out to myself. My email is on the screen. I am available Monday and Wednesday between the hours of 1 and 5 p.m. Central Time, and Tuesday and Thursday open to close during our business hours, which is 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Time as well. And we'll go ahead and jump on to the next slide, please. Thank you, Julie.
Just while you're, oops, can I interrupt you for a second, Lizzie?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Pam.
I don't know if I missed this, but we also had an opportunity that just popped up today about a free webinar that's taking place on Thursday about misinformation. And so have you sent that out yet, Lizzie?
Not yet. So that will be included with our SIP binding summary after the training. So I will have that available for all teams by as early as tomorrow morning.
Okay. And it's not produced by MYLC. We don't really know the folks involved, but it looks pretty good. It was shared with us by Proceed, the project leader, and we did check it out, and it looks like it's not targeted at you specifically, but it looks like it could be helpful. And I know that a lot of you were really interested in the area of misinformation. So
great. Anything more about this slide, Lizzie?
Just to touch base, I know we mentioned again, our homepage is going to be where we're going to submit all of the forms as well as send out any communication. So please, please, please go ahead and jump on the PODER and SALUD group. If you need assistance with creating the account or in setting that up, please let me know. Other than that, we just want to let you guys know, use this to your advantage, as it is going to be where we submit everything. So in other words, it's a platform that will be sharing all of the things we share in the trainings or in the meetings with you guys as well. And that's all I wanted to touch base with that, Julie. Thank you.
Good. I am actually going to stop sharing because what we're going to do is take a group photo. So Lizzie, are you going to, everybody, if you would please turn your camera on, because we're going to take a photo and show the Proceed people and all the other folk. What a handsome group of young people and their adult partners, what we're doing to work together to have an impact. So anybody else? Thank you, everybody. We should do this at the beginning because it does get everybody to show their screens. It's so good to see your faces. Yes. All right. I'm going to take 2 pictures because I have two screens. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do it again. So keep the smiles on. Keep the smiles on, everybody. 1, 2, 3. All right. Awesome. Awesome. Before we go to our final reflection, are there some questions? Oh, there's Gabriella. There's a little one in back with you. Hello, little one. Hi. Hi. Any questions, comments, or concerns right now? Trying not to do the Minnesota thing where I like fill the dead space, the quiet space. So was somebody going to ask a question?
I have a question, Julie.
Yes.
So because this is our like kind of first go around, and we're really starting to kind of understand what this whole process is like, I'm interested in knowing if this is something that we can reapply for again next year. So if it's just a one-off or if there's an opportunity to apply again.
Pam, I bet you can answer that question better.
Yeah, I don't have an answer right now, but that is definitely something that MYLC will be pursuing with Proceed, the project leader. So I don't know, but I will share an update next month. And we have really enjoyed working with them. They do other projects beyond the CDC funded project with the Latinx community. So we are definitely interested in working with them again and would love to be able to do this or something similar on other health topics as well. So we'll let you know as soon as we find that out.
Thank you so much, Pam.
And Sabine, by you saying that it was it's been a great experience for the young people, that's going to speak to the power of this process as well. Thank you. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? Carmen, I'm going to throw it over to you right now so you can lead us in our final reflection.
Sounds good. I'm back. Lighting is still bad. So we're just going to reflect very quickly on something we learned today. So that could be for youth from your breakout rooms, for adults from your big room. Not sure what went on, but I'm sure it was fun. Or it could be something that you learned about the next steps in your process. Are there any ideas you got for your messaging products, how you're going to make it, what it's going to be about, how you're going to distribute it, or pilot it? So you can raise your hand, you can just unmute yourself. You guys can just, yeah. So.
I also put it in the chat. So we're eager to hear. So Sarah, I don't know if you're talking to, okay. All right. Sometimes with the small little screens, I can't tell. What's something that you learned today, or an idea, or something that sparked? Just talking to my kids. I know how that is. Yeah. Myra, anything that you have anything that struck you today? Something you heard that is making you think, or it's like an aha?
Thank you so much. Something that I am worried about is that the boys doesn't want to take the vaccine. That is something that I consider that is problematic. And another experience. I'm sorry, I don't have nothing in mind right now. But my worries is about that. And also I would like to know if we could have more information about good page webs to look for more information. If you please could share with us a really good page web, I want to appreciate it, please. And
absolutely. Absolutely. Lizzie, I think in your next stash or your next email blast, maybe there can be some other resources or some other pages that you've gone to, or that would be useful. Thank you for that question.
Yes, thank you, Myra. And I will be sending that. Hopefully, I promise tomorrow you guys will have it. We just had a few things to finalize, and there's been an update if you guys have been keeping up with the CDC on mask mandates. So please be on the lookout for that as we send it out. So we will again post it on our team homepage, but you will be receiving an email with that information just to continue to help guide you as you work on your PODER and SALUD message products.
So there was another question, and I will forward this question from Gabriella to you, Pam and Lizzie. I don't know if I have the answer to that. Lizzie, you were going to say something. I think I shorted one slide, so I think you wanted to. Do you want me to put a slide up again?
If you could, that would be great. If not, I can just mention it. We just have some reminders for this month of March, which is a few things. So some program to-dos. We like to remind everyone of what's happening at the end of our trainings. We do a little bit of, at the beginning, we do a recap of the previous month, and we end it with some reminders for this month of March. Make sure to turn in your product information forms. We have extended that deadline for those that reached out for additional time for Friday, March 4th. If you have completed your first PIF form and you are ready to work on your second one, go ahead and do so. You can turn in your second product information form when you complete it. And again, that's if you are doing more than one or if you're doing a series on a message product. One other thing to remind you guys about is that the pilot for the product after the approval will be received at NYLC very soon. Once we get that green light from the CDC as well as our lead agency Proceed, and we'll let you guys know once you guys can continue moving forward with your piloting process. Another thing that we do want to mention is think about and prepare for our National Service Learning Conference showcases. And as mentioned, Anthony talked a little bit more about this, but they will be due April 10th. So you guys have a little bit over a month to work on them. But just, you know, if you need any help, ask away. We are here to support you guys. And that's really all I had, other than just saying thank you to all of you guys for your hard work, for getting the community inquiry process form submitted, and for doing such a great job at really being intentional in your project and focusing in being there for providing these message products for the Latino community.
Thank you so much, Lizzie. Again, it's an honor and privilege to be with you and to be working on this very important project with the youth and with your communities. Thank you so much.
All right, well, I think that's what we have for today. I apologize, my camera is not on. I am still smiling through my camera, but if you guys have anything, please feel free to reach out to Pam, Julie, Carmen, or I. Anthony, who is one of our new NYLC staff, will also be there working alongside to support you guys. And if you have any questions, feel free to send them in the chat. Unmute your mic if you'd like to ask away. If not, you guys are free to go. Thanks for joining and for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
really
you guys.
Great work today. Really, really great work.
Thank you.
Concord and Northwest, your hand is raised. Is there something we can help you with?
Yeah, I just have a question. So someone in our group says that they saw something that said, and I think you guys talked about it in this meeting, but we just missed it. And so there's some confusion. Does our messaging have to be in Spanish?
So thanks for the question. We will have to have the messaging in both English and Spanish. And the reason being is the CDC is actually requiring for all message products to be in English and in Spanish. If you come across a barrier where you're not able to communicate, for example, if you're making a poster that says, please get vaccinated, save lives. And if you're kind of stuck on just translation, I'm here to help. And I also have my colleagues at our lead agency, Proceed, who can work one-on-one with you to make sure the information is accurately written out in Spanish and in English. So to answer your question, it will have to be in both languages.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, it's not a problem for us. We just wanted to make sure. Yeah.
Good question.
All right. Yeah, great question. Thank you.
You guys, bye. See you next, or see you probably at one of the stop-in appointments.
Okay, the coaching
good.
appointments. Great, great.
Bye, Viv.
Bye.
Wow.
Hey guys. Oh, stop it.
One.